In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold. The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
This is the Ebercast, and I am John. Look, man, I start on time. I'm on time all the time, every fucking time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here. The chat thingy is on, I presume. And I'm not wasting no fucking time. I just was looking at this book, and I just realized what kind of monumental undertaking I agreed to do when I decided to do this. Like, this is the 5th episode, and I still have, like, so many pages to go. Let's see, we're on, let me see here. Here, hold on. Let me find some whole music real quick. Hey, 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 hey. All right, we still got 288 pages of this book to do, so we got to get moving. Maybe I should start doing more than one of these a week again, like when I rolled her out. I don't know. There's so much to talk about though this week. I was afraid that I was like, oh, maybe I should say something about Ross Perot. You know, we've mentioned Mr. Perot on the I can't remember what it was called. It was like the Vietnam POW conspiracy. Perot did a bunch of stuff. Like the Reagan administration, Reagan put Bush in charge. He was like, hey, we're hearing a bunch of stuff about these POWs. You go figure it out, but we can't spend any of our own money doing it. So they reached out to Ross Perot because he had a bee in his bonnet about this POW business. And they were like, yo, why don't you fund us? Why don't you give us a bunch of money so we could send some special operators over to look for these POWs? And Perot was looking into it, and he actually found a trail of cocaine money, which was merged into like Mena, Arkansas, and the Iran-Contra affair stuff. And he actually got a vendetta against Bush, which is why he ran in '88, I guess, as the third party. I better tell you what, while we're talking about Ross Perot, we should point out for Mr. Trump to be looking for a third party run too, as this thing gets heated up, because it's coming. There's going to be a fucking Mitt Romney or a fucking Jeb or something. It's possible to siphon off those never Trumpers. Anyhow, rest in peace, Ross Perot. You've never seen the movie, what was it? Uncommon Valor. Uncommon Valor was loosely based off of some shit that Ross Perot and Bo Gritz did. It's a great movie. Yeah. And Ross Perot did all kinds of amazing things. In '79, he had part of his company was in Iran, and the Shah kidnapped 2 of his dudes. And he put together a paramilitary strike force, and they went over there and busted these 2 dudes out of prison. I don't know the details of all that. I'm sure if you look into it, there'll be a bunch of people who go, that never happened, or that it was greatly exaggerated. From what I understand, it was turned into a book. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about it, but Ross Perot was the real fucking deal. So here's to you, Mr. Perot. I'm like, I can't hear another word about fucking women's soccer or fucking Betsy Ross flags and all this shit. Like, I'm just fed up with it all. And I've been a good boy this week, so I poured myself a drink. I grabbed my portable Nietzsche here, and I just come down to talk some shit with you guys. So, without any further ado, did I already play the opening stuff? Okay, so we're cracking into it. We're let's see, where do we stop? Zarathustra has a speech here on reading and writing, and it starts off pretty heavy metal. On reading and writing, of all that is written, I love only what a man has written with his blood. Write with blood, and you will experience that blood is spirit. So coming from like an occult perspective, he's talking about black magic, but I don't think that's what he's actually talking about. You know, when any kind of magic or something, you have to give something up in order to get something. It's like the universal like rule or something like this. But I think that what Nietzsche is talking about here is he's talking about something that you work hard to write. I could be wrong. I'm not a philosopher. It is not easily possible to understand the blood of another, and I hate reading idlers. Whoever knows the reader will henceforth do nothing for the reader. Another century of readers. And the spirit itself would stink. With everyone may learn to read in the long run corrupts not only writing, but also thinking. And once the spirit was God, and then he became man, and now he even becomes rabble, waiting for someone to rouse them. I added that. Whoever writes in blood and aphorisms does not want to be read, but to be learned by heart. And this, in the mountains, the shortest way is from the peak to peak. But for that one must have long legs. Aphorisms should be peak to those who are addressed. Tall and lofty, the air thin and pure, and danger near, and the spirit full of gay sarcasm. These go well together. I want to have goblins around me, for I am courageous. Courageous that puts ghosts to flight, creates goblins for itself. Courage wants to laugh. I no longer feel as you do. This cloud which I see beneath me, this blackness and gravity at which I laugh, but that is your thundercloud. You look up when you feel the need for elevation, and I look down because I am elevated. Who among you can laugh and be elevated at the same time? Whoever climbs the highest mountain laughs at all the tragic plays and tragic seriousness. Brave, unconcerned, mocking, violent, thus wisdom wants us, and she is a woman who always loves only a warrior. You say to me that life is hard, but why would you have your pride in the morning and your resignation in the evening? Life is hard to bear, but do not act so tenderly. We are all of us fair beasts of burden, male and female asses. But do we have in common with the rosebud which trembles because of a dewdrop lies on it? True, we love life, but because we are used to living, but because we are used to loving. There is always some madness in love. Well, I'll say, I'm actually going to drink to that. But there is always some reason in madness. And me too, as I am well disposed towards life, butterflies and soap bubbles and wherever among men is of their kind seem to know most about happiness. Seeing these light, foolish, delicate mobile little soul's flutter that seduces Zarathustra to tears and songs. I would believe he's watching a ASCPA commercial. In the arms of an angel. I would believe only in a God who could dance, slam dance, break dance, dance, motherfucker, dance. And when I saw my devil, I found him serious, thorough, profound, and solemn. It was the spirit of gravity. Through him all things fall. Not by wrath does one kill, but by laughter. Come and let us kill the spirit of gravity. I have learned to walk ever since I let myself run, and I have learned to fly ever since I do not want to be pushed before moving along. Now I am light, and now I fly. Now I see myself beneath myself. Now a god dances through me. Thus spoke Zarathustra. God, only 10 minutes, like 11 minutes in. We're moving on to the next one. It's called On the Tree on the Mountainside. Zarathustra's eyes had noted that a youth avoided him. But one evening, as he walked alone through the mountains surrounded by the town, which is called the Motley Cow. This, I think, is the town that he went to after he stuffed that tightrope walker into the tree hollow. I think he goes to the Motley Cow then. I think they mentioned it like one other time. Behold, on his walk he found this youth, and he sat leaning against a tree and looking wearily into the valley. Zarathustra gripped the tree under which the youth was sitting and spoke thus. If I wanted to shake this tree with my hands, I should not be able to do it. But the wind, which we do not see, tortures and bends it whenever direction it pleases. It is by invisible hands that we are bent and we are tortured worst. The youth got up, consternated, and said, I hear Zarathustra, and just now I was thinking of him. And Zarathustra replied, why should that frighten you? But it is with man as it is with the tree. The more he aspires to the height and to the light, the more strongly do his roots strive earthward, downward, into the dark, into the deep, and into evil. Yes, into evil, cried the youth. How is it possible that you discovered my soul? And Zarathustra smiled, and he says, some souls one will never discover unless one invents them first. Yes, into evil, the youth cried once more. You have spoken the truth, Zarathustra. I no longer trust myself, since I aspire to the height, and nobody trusts me anymore. How did this happen? I changed too fast. My today refutes my yesterday, and I often skip steps when I climb. No step forgives me that. But when I am at the top, I always find myself alone. Nobody speaks to me. The frost of loneliness makes me shiver, and what do I want up high? My contempt, my longing grow at the same time the higher I climb. The more I despise the climber. What does he want up high? How ashamed I am of my climbing and my stumbling, and how I mock at my violent panting, and how I hate the flyer. How weary I am up high. Here the youth stopped, and Zarathustra contemplated the tree beside which they stood, and he spoke thus. This tree stands lonely here. In the mountains, it grew high above man and beast, and if it wanted to speak, it would have nobody who could understand it. So high it has grown. Now it waits and waits for what is it waiting? It dwells too near to the seat of the clouds, surely, and it waits for the first lightning. When the Zarathustra had said this, the youth cried with violent gestures, "Yes, Zarathustra! You are speaking the truth. I have longed to go under when I aspired the height. And you are the lightning for which I waited. Behold what I am. I, now that you have appeared among us, it is the envy of you that has destroyed me." Thus spoke the youth, and he wept bitterly, but Zarathustra put his arm around him in a Joe Biden-like gesture, and he led him away. And when they had walked together for a while, Zarathustra began to speak thus. "It tears my heart better than your words tell it. Your eyes tell me of all your dangers, and you are not yet free. You still search for freedom. You are worn from your search and over awake, and you aspire to the free heights. Your soul thirsts for these stars. But your wicked instincts, too, thirst for freedom. Your wild dogs want freedom, and they bark with joy in the cellar when your spirit plans to open all the prisons. To me, you are still a prisoner who is plotting his freedom. Alas, in such prisoners, the soul becomes clever, but also deceitful and bad. And even the liberated spirit must still purify himself. Much prison and mustness still remain in him, and his eyes must still become pure. Indeed, I know your danger, but by my love and hope I beseech you, do not throw away your love and your hope. You still feel noble, and the others too feel your nobility, though they bear you a grudge and send you evil glances. Now that the noble man stands in everybody's way, the noble man stands in the way of the good too. And even if they call him one of the good, then thus want to do away with him. The noble man wants to create something new and a new virtue. But the good want the old, and what the old be preserved. But this is not the danger of the noble man, that he might become one of the good, but of a churl, a mocker, a destroyer. Alas, I knew noblemen who lost their highest hope, and they slander all high hopes. Then they lived impudently in a brief pleasures and barely cast their goals beyond the day. Spirit too is lust, they said. The wings of their spirit broke, and now their spirit crawls about the soils that gnaws. Once they thought of becoming heroes, then they could be heroes just for one day. And now they are voluptuaries. The hero is for them an offense and a fright. Ooh, that's powerful. We must kill our heroes. But by my love and my hope, I beseech you, do not throw away the hero in your soul, and hold holy your highest hope. And thus spake Zarathustra. I'm going to do one more quick one before we take a break. This one is called On the Preachers of Death. It's going to be a good one, I think. There are preachers of death, and the earth is full of those whom one must preach renunciation of life. The earth is full of superfluous. Life is spoiled by the all too many, and may they be lured from this life with the eternal life. Yellow the preachers of death wear, or black. They're Steelers fans. Did you hear that? But I want to show them to you in still other colors. Oh, mama, I'm here for the long arm of the law. Hangman is coming down from the gallows. Won't be very long. If you have no idea what I'm doing, and probably most of you don't, just jump on YouTube and just search Renegade Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not a Steelers fan, but every year they cut like these brutal highlights to that Renegade song. And if you're standing in the theater when they're playing it over the Jumbotron, it's like electric. Like I said, I'm not a fucking football fan. I'm not a Steelers fan, but it's like it just charges through. It's like doom, doom, doom. Yo, Tim, sup? I'm getting back on point now. Enough 70s fucking arena rock. There are terrible ones who carry round within themselves the beast of prey and have no choice but lust or self-laceration. And even their lust is still self-laceration. They have not even become human beings yet. These terrible ones, let them preach reunification of life and pass away themselves. There are those whose consumption of the soul hardly are they born when they begin to die, and to long for doctrines of weariness and renunciation they would like to be dead. And we should welcome their wishes. Let us beware of walking the dead, the disturbing these living coffins. They encounter a sick man or an old man or a corpse. Immediately they say, quote, life is refuted, unquote. But only themselves are refuted, and their eyes, which see only this one face of existence, shrouded in a thick melancholy, and eager for their little accidents that bring death. Thus they wait with clenched teeth, or they reach for sweets while mocking their own childishness. They clutch the straws of their life, and they mock what they still clutch, but they still clutch a straw. Their wisdom says a fool who stays alive, but such fools we are. And this is surely the most foolish thing about life. Life is only suffering, others say, and do not lie. See to it then that you cease. See to it then that the life which is only suffering ceases. Life is pain. Oh, what was that? Was from The Omen 3 with Sam Neill. Birth is pain, life is pain, death is pain. I am pain. Lust is sin, says one group that preaches death. Let us step aside and begat no children. Giving birth is troublesome, says another group. Why go on giving birth? One bears only unfortunates. Okay, so I'm going to back up here and interject. Thou shalt kill thyself, thou shalt steal away. And lust is sin, says one group that preaches death. Let us step aside and begat no children. So this is something like the Cathar. They were Gnostic. Cathars did this. Some of them lived an ascetic life, and some of them also lived a sort of a libertine life, these ancient Gnostics. And they lived a libertine life where I'm saying that they didn't care about the material. So they did not give regard to their body at all. It was like, I'll do whatever I want with it as long as they're not making more children, because the act of procreation would just be entrapping more innocent souls into the world. But I mean, they would do fucking, they would drink and stuff, just like, you just got a coitus interruptus, as they call it. Or do a little backside bam bam, something like this. All right. Let's finish this one up. Backside bam bam. I'm pretty sure I need a break. And they too are preachers of death. Pity is needed. This is interesting. Pity is needed, says the third group. Take from me what I have and take from me what I am, and life will bind me that much less. These are people that are like, tax me more. Sure, I'll pay a few more taxes to buy health insurance for illegal immigrants or, whatever the thing of the day is. If they were full of pity through and through, they would not make life insufferable for their neighbors. To be evil, that would be their real goodness. But they want to get out of life. They care that with their chains and presence, they bind others still more tightly. Oh, the guilt. The chains of guilt, perhaps. This is I've made the point before. I've made the illusion that I think that Nietzsche predicted social justice warriors. I think this might be one of those times. I actually need to... SJW, bracket, through here, up, down, okay. And you, too, for whom life is furious work and unrest. Are you not very weary of life? You are not very ripe for the preaching of death. All of you to whom furious work is clear and whatever is fast, new, and strange, you find it hard to bear yourself. Your industry is escape and the will to forget yourselves. If you believed more in life, you would fling yourselves less into the moment, but you do not have contents enough in yourself. Continence. Oh, you do not have continence enough in yourself for waiting, and do not even for idleness. Everywhere the voice of those who preach death is heard, and the earth is full of those whom one must preach death or eternal life. That is the same to me, if only they pass away quickly. Thus spoke Zarathustra.
Hey y'all, I'm Leah Lawrence.
I'm her husband, Mitch Lawrence.
And we host the Southern Spirits Podcast.
Each week we'll sip on a Southern brewed craft beer or wine and toss back a Southern distilled liquor, and I'll let y'all know how I feel about them with a review.
And after we are good and tipsy, I'll bust out a couple of strange, spooky tales from the American South. We are all about true crimes, mysteries, paranormal activity, and cryptozoology.
Basically, if it's Southern and boozy, we'll drink it, and if it's Southern and weird, we'll talk about it.
So join us as we drink our way through the folklore of the South.
Find the Southern Spirits Podcast on your favorite podcast platform.
Bye, y'all.
Learn more at theabracast.com. Get graphic elements, notes, worksheets, and text versions of selected episodes, as well as access to the private Abracast workgroup by signing into the mailing list. Get all that, plus exclusive episodes, by supporting the show and becoming a subscriber at subscribestar.com.
Hey bros, it's John. Hey, check out this preview for this Fellowcraft exclusive series called The Influence of the Phallic Idea in the Religions of Antiquity. This is back when we first started talking about sex magic. This was the primer for the sex magic kind of series that we're doing. We talk serpent symbolism, circumcision, pillars and groves, and ultimately we end up talking about Moses and Pharaoh's legendary dick measuring contest. There are 4 phallic episodes. That's over 3 hours of content just in this series, and there's many more fellow craft episodes available at Subscribestar. That's subscribestar.com/abracast. They're all available right now for the $3 fellow craft tier. Plus, there's a lot more stuff over there. So, hey, you, get your hand out of your pants and let's go look at these sexually obsessed religious stories, huh? The Hebrew patriarch desired large flocks as well as the numerous descendants. And hence the symbolical pillar was peculiarly fitted for their religious rites. It is related even of Abraham, the traditional founder of the Hebrew people, that he planted a grove in Beersheba and called there on the name of Yehovah, the everlasting Elohim, from the phallic character of the grove, said to have been in the house of Yehovah. And from the evident connection between the two worlds, we must suppose that the shell of Abraham also had a phallic reference. Most probably so-called grove of the earlier patriarch thought it may have reference. Most probably it may have been so-called grove of the earlier patriarch, though it may have been wood, and the stone Bethel of Jacob had the same form and were simply the Betelis, the primitive symbol of deity among the Semitic and many Hamitic peoples. The participation of the Hebrew patriarchs in the rites connected with pillar worship of the ancient world renders it extremely probable that they were not strangers to the later planetary worship. Many of the old phallic symbols were associated with the new superstition. And Abraham being a Chaldean, it is natural to suppose that he was one of the adherents. Tradition indeed affirms that Abraham was a great astronomer, and at one time at least a worshiper of the heavenly bodies, and that he and the other patriarchs continued to be affected by this superstition is shown by various incidents related to Pentateuch. Thus, in the description given of the sacrificial covenant between Abraham and Yehovah, it is said that after Abraham had divided the sacrificial animals, a deep sleep fell on him as the sun was going down, and Yehovah spoke with him. And then when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those two pieces. The happening of this event, that the moment of the sun setting, reminds us of the Sabaean custom of praying to the setting sun, still practiced, according to Palgrave, among the nomads of Central Arabia. Moving into the next part here. The great religious movement of archaic time. That some religious movement ascribed by tradition to Abraham did take place among the Semites, and an early date is undoubted, when the object of the movement it is difficult to decide. It should be remembered that the Chaldeans worshipped a plurality of gods, supposed to have been symbolized by the 7 planets. Among these deities was the sun god, held a comparatively inferior position, the moon god, coming before him in the second triad. It was at the special seat of worship of the moon god, that Abraham is said to have lived before he quitted it for Haran. and that just considered in the light of the traditions relating to the great patriarch may perhaps justify us in inferring that the Reformation he endeavored to introduce was the substitution of a simple sun worship for the planetary cult of the Chaldeans, in which the worship of the moon must to him have appeared to occupy a prominent place. The new faith was indeed a return to the old phallic idea of a god of personal generation, worshipped through the symbol of Betelgeuse, the associated also with the adoration of the sun as a special representative of the deity. That Abraham had higher notions of the relationship of man to the divine being than his forerunners is very probable, but his sojourn in Haran proved that there was nothing fundamentally different between his religious faith and that of his Syrian neighbors. I am inclined indeed to believe that to the traditional Abraham must be ascribed the establishment of sun worship through Phoenicia and Lower Egypt, in his connection with the symbols of earlier and more simple phallic deity tradition, in fact, declares that he taught the Egyptians astronomy. And we shall see that the religion of the Phoenicians, as indeed of the Hebrews themselves, was a worship of, wait for it, Saturn, the erect pillar god, who under different names appears to have been at the head of the pantheons of most of the peoples of antiquity. The reference in Hebrew history to the teraphim of Jacob's family recalls the fact that the name assigned to Abraham's father was Terah, the maker of images, and teraphim were doubtlessly the same as the seraphim, which were serpent images and the household charms or idols of the Semitic worship of the sun god, who was the serpent, or to whom the serpent was sacred. Little is known of the
Learn more at theabracast.com. Get graphic elements, notes, worksheets, and text versions of selected episodes, as well as access to the private Abracast workgroup by signing into the mailing list. Get all that, plus exclusive episodes, by supporting the show and becoming a subscriber at subscribestar.com.
All right, back to it. Sorry those breaks are long, but I gotta run. I have to run a great distance to refill my drink and to take a leak. So, but I thought putting it in the middle instead of the end, might help me. I don't know. I'm still playing around with all this. This isn't only. I say this is only part 5. It is only part 5, but the first 3 were done on the exact same circumstances 3 nights in a row. So this is only my 3rd phase of messing around on how to make it work. So like I said, we have 280 fucking something pages left to go after this. So I have plenty of time to tinker. Ooh. On war and warriors. We do not want to be spared by our best enemies, nor by those whom we love thoroughly. So let me tell you the truth, my brothers in war. I love you thoroughly, and thoroughly. I am and I was of your kind, and I am also your best enemy. So let me tell you the truth. I know of the hatred and of the envy of your hearts. You are not great enough not to know hatred and envy. Be great enough then to not be ashamed of them. And if you cannot be saints of knowledge, at least be its warriors, and they are the companions and the forerunners of such sainthood. I see many soldiers, would that I saw many warriors. Uniform, one calls what they wear. Would that what it conceals were not uniform. Oh, that's interesting. I guess that's the reason it conceals it uniformly. You should have eyes that always seek an enemy, your enemy. And some of you hate at first sight your enemy. You shall seek your war and shall wage for your thoughts. And if your thought be vanquished, then your honesty should still find cause for triumph in that. You shall love peace as a mean to new wars, and the short peace more than the long. To you, I do not recommend work, but struggle. To you, I do not recommend peace, but victory. And let your work be a struggle. Let your peace be a victory. One can be silent and chatter in quarrels. Let your peace be a victory. You say it is good cause that hollows even war. And I say to you, it is a good war that hollows any cause. War and courage have accomplished more great things than the love of thy neighbor. Not your pity, but your courage has so far saved the unfortunate. The unfortunate. And what is good, you ask? To be brave is good. And let the little girl say, and to be good is what is at the same time pretty and touching. They call you heartless, but you have a heart. And I love you for being ashamed to show it. You are ashamed of your flood, while others are ashamed of their ebb. Oh, very poetic, Zarathustra. I see what you did there. You are ugly, then, my brothers, wrap the sublime around you, the cloak of the ugly, and when your soul becomes great, then it becomes prankish. And when in your sublimity there is sarcasm, I know you. In sarcasm, the prankster and the weakling meet, and they misunderstand each other, you know. Or sorry, I know you. You've only enemies from whom you can hate, and not enemies you despise. You must be proud of your enemy. Then the success of your enemy are your successes too. I'm sorry. I'm fucking around with this thing. I'm going to get to it eventually. Hold on. Recalcitrance. That is that is the nobility of slaves. Your nobility should be obedience. You are very commanding. Your very commanding should be in obeying to a good warrior. Thou shalt sounds more agreeable than I will. Ooh, we heard this before. And everything. That's my King Ghidorah. That's my Monster Zero. And everything you like, you should first let yourself be commanded to do. Your love of life shall be love of your highest hope, and your highest hope shall be the highest thought of your life. And your highest thought, however, you should receive as a command from me, and it is, man is something that shall be overcome. It should become an overman. Thus live your life of obedience and war, and what matters, long life. What warriors want to be spared. I do not spare you. I love you thoroughly, my brothers in war. Thus spoke Zarathustra. right, this is going to be the last one, I think. It's called The New Idol. Somewhere there are still peoples and herds, and not where we live, my brothers. Here there are states. State? What is that? Well, then, open your ears to me, for I shall speak to you about the death of peoples. State is the name of the coldest of all cold monsters. Coldly it tells lies, too. And this lie crawls out of its mouth. I, the state, am the people. And that is a lie. It was the creators who created peoples and hung a faith on a love over them. Thus, they served life. It is annihilators who set traps for many and call them state, and they hang a sword and 100 appetites over them. This is, I think Ronald Reagan paraphrased this when he was like, the scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. 9. The scariest 9 words in the English language. Where there is still a people, it does not understand the state and hates it as the evil eye and the sin against customs and rights. The sign I give you, every people speak its tongue, and it's good and evil, which the neighbor does not understand. It has invented its own language of customs and rights. He's talking about bureaucracy. You might as well be talking about bureaucracy. But the state tells lies in all tongues of good and evil, and whatever it says, it lies, and whatever it has stolen. Everything about it is false, and it bites with stolen teeth, and bites evenly. Even its entrails are false. Confusion of tongues of good and of evil. Have you ever read a fucking mortgage? Have you ever read it? It's designed to confuse you. It's totally ridiculous. They're like, no, we're just spelling it out in plain terms that everyone can understand. And you're like, no, you're not. It's the confusion of tongues. Verily it beckons to the preachers of death. All too many are born, for the superfluous of state was invented, and behold how it lures them, the all too many, and how it devours them, and it chews them, and it remunerates. On earth there is nothing greater than I. The ordering finger of God am I. He is talking about bureaucracy. Thus roars the monster. And it is not the only long-eared and short-sighted who sink to their knees. Alas, to you too, to you great souls, it whispers its dark lies. Alas, it detects the riches. It detects the rich hearts which like to squander themselves. Indeed, it detects you too. It vanquishes you of the old God. And you've grown weary with fighting, and now your weariness still serves the new idol. With heroes and honorable men, it would surround itself with the new idol. Government is your new idol. It likes to bask in the sunshine of good conscience, the cold monster, and it will give you everything if you will adore it. Oh my God. Lyndon Baines Johnson, pick up your phone. Your new idol is calling. The new idol. Thus, it buys the splendor of your virtues and the look of your proud eyes. It would use you as a bait for the all too many. Indeed, a hellish artifice was invented there, a horse of death clattering in its finery and its divine honors. Indeed, A dying for many was invented there, which praises itself as life. Verily, a great service to all preachers of death. State, I call it, where all drink poison, the good and the wicked. State where all lose themselves, the good and the wicked. State where the slow suicide of all is called life. Behold the superfluous. They steal the words of the inventors and the treasurers and the sages for themselves. Ayn Rand, pick up your phone. They are calling you. The preachers of death are calling. Education, they call their theft, and everything turns to sickness and misfortune for them. And behold the superfluous. They are always sick, and they vomit their gall and call it a newspaper. They devour each other and cannot even digest themselves. Behold the superfluous. They gather riches. I need to make another SJW note. SJW. I'm going to do a whole thing on Nietzsche and SJWism. Social justice warriorism. They devour each other and cannot even devour. They gather riches. That SJWs do not do that. They never, they succeed up, never by success. They succeed up by their identity politics. You know, you get a writer or something at Marvel and they have like 5 consecutive series canceled because of lack of sales and they become an editor or something. That's what I'm talking about. They don't gather riches, but they gather power. Power. They want power. The lever of power, much money, much impotent paupers. The impotent paupers, yes. Watch them clamor. These swift monkeys, they clamor over one another and thus drag one another into the mud, into the depths. People say this all the time. I've said it all the time. The left will turn on you. Whatever your position, they can always get left of you and attack. They want to get to the throne. Littlefinger. This is their madness. As if it happens sat on the throne. Often mud sits on the throne, and often the throne on mud. Mad they all appear to me, clamoring monkeys in overardent foul smells. Their idol, their cold monster, foul they smell to me altogether. These idolaters. My brothers, do you want to suffocate on the fumes of their snouts and their appetites? Rather break to the windows and leap to freedom. Escape from this bad smell and escape from the idolatry of the superfluous. Escape from the bad smell, escape from the steam of these human sacrifices. The earth is free even now for great souls. These are still many empty seats for the lonesome and the twosome, fanned by the fragrance of the silent sea. A free life is still free for great souls, and verily whoever possesses little is possessed that much less. Praised be a little poverty. Only where the states end, there begins the human being, whom is not superfluous. There begins the song of necessity, the unique, the inevitable tune. There, or where the state ends. Look there, my brothers. Do you not see it? The rainbow and the bridges and the overman. Thus spoke Zarathustra. So look, before I go, a few things this evening. 1, subscribe star at /Abercast We got a brand spanking new lessons learned from Zarathustra is up. Mailing list. You get access to the working group. Also, we got a few episodes still, but we're on the final run of our Goetia or the Solomonic Magic thing. And if you sign into the mailing list, you get the access to the working group, but you also get worksheets and notes and some text versions of episodes. One of the worksheets that you get is a worksheet on Solomonic Magic. It's adapted for both the lesser and the greater keys of Solomon, and it's fun. I mean, it's not a stand-in. You still need to find the text or whatever. Sacredtext.com will help you out. But it has a place for you to keep your whole operation on schedule with all the particulars you need to do. It's fun. I designed it myself. It's cool. Let's see, reminder, every Wednesday we're going to be doing these Nietzsche episodes, probably from now until like 30 years from now, until I get through this goddamn book. And one last thing I want to talk about is if you guys know a returning vet that you're like, I think something might be weird with my bro or my chick, female friend, I don't know, whatever you say nowadays. However you kids talk about it. You're worried about them, you know, I want you to pass on this information to them. There's a veterans crisis line. It's 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-8255. All they have to do is press 1, or they can do a confidential crisis chat online at veteranscrisisline.net, or simply have them shoot a text to 838255. As of April 2019, just a few months ago, we were clocking in at 20 returning vets opting out. Take that however you want. They're opting out every day. So, I mean, we have a problem, you know. And if you have returning vets or injured vets or PTSD vets in your life, part of your job now is to watch them and be aware. Just be aware. We got a giant problem on our hands, and not to end on a fucking awful sad note, but so here we go. I'm gonna do a preview for the Zarathustra Subscribe Star episode. So if you guys want to check out. But if you want to get a little bit of insight into these Subscribe Star episodes, here we go. This is a good opportunity for you. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday. And of course, I think American Sermon episode's gonna drop tomorrow. It's gonna be a spicy one. It's about America's original sin. So it's going to drop either Thursday or Friday. And then, obviously, we'll have a new show on Sunday. I think it's going to be one of the Solomonic things. All right. Anyhow, enough. Stay and listen to this preview, though. That's what I'm saying. Stay and listen to the preview.
Learn more at theabracast.com. Get graphic elements, notes, worksheets, and text versions of selected episodes, as well as access to the private Abracast workgroup by signing into the mailing list. Get all that, plus exclusive episodes, by supporting the show and becoming a subscriber at subscribestar.com.
It is an apprentice in the order of the Abracast who now wishes to receive more light by passing to the degree of the fellow craft. He is prepared, worthy, and well qualified, and he is vouched for. Let him enter in the name of the Lord and be received in due form.
Learn more at theabracast.com. Get graphic elements, notes, worksheets, and text versions of selected episodes, as well as access to the private Abracast workgroup by signing into the mailing list. Get all that, plus exclusive episodes, by supporting the show and becoming a subscriber at subscribestar.com.
I've been having I've been having a awesome streak of shitty events in my life, and one day I was just like tinkering around with this new app that my podcast host had, and I was like, oh, there's like a go live feature here. So I hit the button, and we started experimenting with going live, and I grabbed this my Nietzsche book. I think it's called. Is it called the Portable Nietzsche? And I started talking about Thus Spake Zarathustra. And I was like, hey man, I'm just going to do, whenever I'm having a shitty day, I'm just going to do one of these live episodes. We're just going to chip away through this gigantic fucking book. Well, I actually had to take a break, but we did three like in a row. And because we were just experimenting with it, I had to use like a different mic. I couldn't get this shit through my sound. Anyhow, it sounds a little bit different, but I'm working on it. I ordered a new part and all this other kind of stuff. So, but with the fellow craft episodes, I would do a series traditionally, all of them except for one. I would do a series, and then I would do like an extra episode where I'm like, this is what I learned from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, or this is what I learned through when I read the first part of section 1 of Libra 4, or this is what I learned when I read this phallic influences in ancient religions or whatever. So I thought, because I'm throwing these live episodes at you guys, I thought that I could instead flip over to the fellow craft episodes and do the this is what I learned when I read, or this is what I thought of when I read these first 3 or 4 sermons or speeches of Zarathustra. So here's a short preview, and it's all on the one and only fellow craft tier of Subscribestar. So I hope you guys dig it. I hope you like it. I hope you come over. I'm actually learning quite a lot, and this episode takes a wild left turn into some stuff. So anyhow, I hope you guys dig this, and beware that there's some more live episodes coming up actually this week. It's coming up fast. If not today, tomorrow. If not, well, I'm probably going to take the 4th off. But there's some we're doing Zarathustra this week, live episodes. A good way to know when we're going live is subscribe on Subscribestar, or sign into the mailing list and get access to the work group where I'm publishing all this stuff. So, all right, man, here, check it out. I hope you like it. Bye. Towers out. In the lion stage, the subject of spiritual transformation must engage the dragon into mortal combat. Finish him. One needs to be a lion in spirit to defeat the law of thou shalt and affirm the conditions of one's flourishing. Okay, so let's bounce this up next to the communism thing. The communism, you're carrying the load for everybody. Well, this lion's like, fuck you. I'm doing what I want to do. And even more illustrative, after that statement is made, King Ghidorah comes down and he was like, no bitch, thou shalt. Shooting that gold lightning all over the place with his 3 fucking giant snake heads. And the lion's like, thou shalt? That's what you're saying? I'm saying fuck you. And he does. He's the lion in my makeshift analysis here that I'm just getting into. The lion is the free market. That might be ridiculous. I need to Google search this stuff because it just came to me while I was reading this. Okay, so I've stated many times I'm not a philosopher. I'm not very deep, and I'm not a Nietzschean scholar. There is no happiness in fighting dragons all one's life, however. To complete the 3 metamorphoses, the lion must become a child. Maturity for Nietzsche means rediscovering the seriousness one had as a child at play. Okay, so if you've been a listener for any amount of time, I say any amount of time, like it doesn't come up every fucking week, but every once in a while I talk about rites of passage, which came up in earlier to the most burdensome insights and to force ourselves to dwell on them as a rite of passage. So I speak sometimes about our culture having gotten rid of the rites of passage where, you know, you can put on a robe and you can light some weird candles and you can have some kind of initiation ritual where there's creative play going on somewhere in your psychology. You know, this whole thing started when, in my head, this whole thing started when I was reading, when we were going through the Lesser Key of Solomon episodes, and I was like, I got a little bit of pushback on people going, you need to do a disclaimer at the beginning of these that people should not be summoning demons. And I was like, fuck you. If somebody wants to turn the lights off in their house and to light some candles and to put some robes on and to start praying to Adonai and Tetragrammaton and all of this stuff, that we need that because we have no other place in our daily lives where we can get weird and kind of scare ourselves a little bit and charge us up, you know, with being weird. I'm not warning people against this. I'm encouraging it is what I would have said. And I really kind of started unpacking that. You know, when we look into rituals of Freemasonry or, you know, the initiation rituals and then all the little plays and stuff that they do when they're going through their degrees and stuff. They're having creative play. They're having fun. They're being able to not worry about their mortgage and their car payments and all of this stuff. As a matter of fact, you know what? I should fucking get a robe right now and fucking do some fucking ritual magic because I need a fucking vacation from my life right now. I'm having the worst fucking 2 months back to back to back that I've had in a long fucking time. So what I'm saying is, you know, we're talking about this seriousness one has as a child at play. You might be like, Towers, I play all the time. I play games on my phone. I play games on my PS4 or whatever. I play fucking Guitar Hero, Candy Crush. I'm a Candy Crush master. I'm a Fruit Ninja. That's passive play, bros. Someone else's imagination set this up for you. I'm talking about creative play. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm being a little too tyrannical. I apologize. I'm not trying to be tyrannical. I'm like, you have to play, motherfuckers. Play! Back to this thing. A childlike spirit is vital to happiness, health, and well-being. That child, Nietzsche says, is innocence and forgetting. It's a new beginning, a sport of self-propelling wheel, a sacred yes. The lion becomes a child when the individual says, I will cease to affirm their values contrary to the law of thou shalt, and affirms them instead for the sport of creation. The spirit now wills its own will, its own world. Life is no longer a reactive struggle to defeat other forces. Life is a celebration of one's powers and sustained act of pure affirmation. Like the child spirit who knows the joy of life and the innocence of perpetual creation. Philosophy helps me evolve from the camel to the lion, but I'm still working on becoming a child, and it's a long way back to the beginning of one's life. But this is where I am headed, and Nietzsche was wrong about many things, but he was right to argue that a light, innocent, affirmative approach to life is vital to spiritual flourishing and the creative existence as well. I mean, I don't know if I should get into this now or if I'm going to get a chance to get into it later. Yeah, I'm going to skip. All right, so